Almost 70 Summers by Ian George Glass. Chain Valley Bay, 2259. Narrated by David Tredinnick. I'm almost 70 summers old, and yet I feel as though I am a teenager. I was told, back then when I was very young, that old people do this. They remember their past as if it were this morning. Now I know that's true. I never thought I would live this long. Back then, an Air Force brat, with my dad posted over Southeast Asia, leaving my older brother and I living in war zones. We didn't believe we would live past 30 years. If you know about beliefs, they are the most powerful mental aberrations in humanity's arsenal of negative patterns. So, my brother and I believed we wouldn't live past 30 years of age, no matter what. My older brother believed this so much he killed himself early with drugs and alcohol, eventually dying after years of self-induced illness at 57. We believed back then that the world as we knew it would stop long before we would. Now the world political situation has revealed itself to be as bad or worse than we expected. Almost 70. The year I was born, Australia saw the introduction of mainstream television. The TV was black and white, and we had a massive 3 channels, ABC, 10 and 9. The best bit was the broadcast finished at around 10 p.m. and recommenced at about 6 a.m. A special test pattern picture was broadcast beyond those times to allow the machinery of the TV stations to continue to preserve the heated electrical components of the stations, because if they cooled down too much, their electronics heating back up weakened them, and they wore out quicker. Now we have 24/7 over 50 channels on what we call free-to-air. There is pay TV and pay-per-view, as well as recorded shows and computer hard drives with pre-recorded as well as streaming. Whatever you think that is. And we have computers, tablets, and the best, most magical invention, mobile phones. Then, in 1969, we sent people in a rocket to the moon. The computing power that moved that marvel was so small, the weakest mobile phone now has many times the ability those old systems had. I remember my dad, a science fiction buff, saying that someday people would mount televisions on walls like paintings, unlike the huge cabinets from our past. The first time I saw that phenomenon, I was at his house. The old man got one of his dreams happening then. Now I watch TV on my tablet and mobile phone. Count the years, and my mind ticks back to watch winding. Mother's dad had a fob watch, a big old gold watch which was put in a special pocket of his vest, attached with a chain so he wouldn't lose it. He had to wind the watch by hand every day, or it would stop. The first watch my dad gave me was a wristwatch, buckled on by a wristband. It was so modern it was called automatic. The movement of my arm wound the watch, so if I didn't wear it, the watch stopped. Now we plug watches into a PowerPoint or computer, if we wear them at all. When we were going out last Saturday night, my wife said, "I must put my watch on charge." This is the new now. Almost 70 summers, and I'm old enough to remember my grandparents having an icebox. They would have blocks of ice delivered to them, hauled into the top of the box to keep the food cold. Now we have combined fridge and freezers, some which run off solar-powered batteries. How did I beam into solar power? The latest clothes dryers use solar and wind power, drying clothes without electric energy. Peg the damp clothes to these lines strung outside, and the wind and the sun dry them. Then it was amazing. Now it just makes sense. Almost 70 spills into sewerage. Back in the very olden days, and yes, I remember those days, we would dig a deep hole in our big backyard to do our toilet in. We filled the old hole with dirt from the new one when it was full and continued the process. As towns got bigger and yards got smaller, we had the nightmen. Our toilet was a small shed in the backyard, with a special bench under which was a tin. A clipped lid prevented the tin's contents from leaking, making it relatively spill-proof during carrying. With sewerage pipes, indoor plumbing arrived, and the days of the thunderbox were mainly over. And finally, my grandparents had a wood chip water heater. A spiral water pipe travelled up the inside of a copper cylinder which had a chimney in the middle. We would light a small fire in the heater's bottom, chips of wood, and the heat would make the water in the copper pipe warm enough to bathe in. Too much heat, not enough water. Too much water. Temperature control was a matter of practice. For a city kid, these experiences were so amazing. By then, we were in the middle of the last of the primitive years. And so I am almost 70 summers old. Now, as I sit on an ergonomically proper chair in my environmentally controlled house, I remember and am so glad to have experienced those times. And even more grateful to be here now, rather than back then. The end.